Hey, everybody. The deadline has come and gone, and our Montreal Canadiens did nothing. My dog is kind of complaining about that. Matt's going to tell you about it while I get my dog to stop barking.
Oh yeah, obviously we just had the trade deadline, and there are some things here and there we were kind of hearing, but obviously nothing ended up coming to fruition. We'll get into that a little bit here. We'll get into the playoff race a little bit, and I guess kind of what to expect going forward on HabNormals.
Well, we're going to talk about our opinion of why they decided to stand pat. We're going to give a little discussion on maybe they missed the boat a little bit, what our opinion is on that, on two subjects. What to do about the goaltending going forward, since they didn't really address anything on that. And then after the game that in Anaheim, there's something to address there. And then we're going to ask the question, because before last night's win, because we're recording this Sunday, are they in danger of missing the playoffs with how tight the Atlantic Division is and how close the points are and all that? So that's a question we're going to ask. And then at the end, we're going to kind of flip the switch on this today. At the end, we're going to just go over quickly last week's games, our thoughts on that. Next week's game's coming up because, hey, we're playing Toronto next week, so that's going to be interesting. And, 3 stars of last week. But we're going to do that at the end when Matt decides. Are you there, Matt? I don't know.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm here.
Okay, Matt's there. So we're going to start with this question right here. And by the way, at any point, because you're just watching a video, let us know in the comments what you think about what we're saying here, what your thoughts on that subject is at the time, and and give a thumbs up if you're liking the video, and subscribe if you're new to the channel and you're just discovering us. Hit that subscribe button and you get notified when all the pods and everything else happen. All right, so the first question for us is this: why do you think Montreal decided to stand pat at the deadline? And I guess I could add, did they decide to stand pat, or did things sort of not work out? I should have added that to that. But Matt, why do you think? Okay, we'll just go. Why do you think they decided to stand pat?
Yeah, so obviously we knew going into it, prices were going to be sky high. It was a seller's market, contrary to kind of the reports early on, sort of maybe within the last couple of weeks that it might have been a buyer's market. It was obviously the exact opposite, right? With prices really, guys that, a lot of people thought for sure would get moved, didn't, right? Like I look at Vinny Trocheck in New York, they didn't come down off that price. Danny Briere didn't come off his Ristolainen price. That's why he didn't move. And obviously, and again, I didn't think Robert Thomas or Kyrou really would have been moved either, because I think those prices were just way too sky high.
Yeah, I think that was like
hearing about what was coming out for asks. It's like, no.
Yeah,
like,
it was questionable whether those guys would get moved now or possibly in the summer. So yeah.
I think also, again, right, we know they're not, Kent Hughes and Jeff Gordon aren't gonna deviate from the plan if they don't have to. They're not going to force a trade to make a trade. That being said, I do think they might have had a couple things in the works, or at least maybe one. We know that they did.
Well, we know they
have
did.
A lot of. We definitely
know they did. Hughes said it himself that there was definitely something that didn't.
Right. Whether that was, I know they definitely were talking with Calgary for a long time Friday about Nazem Kadri. I know they were talking to Florida about AJ Greer. And there might have been something else there that we weren't thinking about. Maybe even a player that wasn't really available at the deadline. I heard a lot about they might have had their eyes on someone that no one was talking about. I don't know how true that is, but again,
hard to know.
They weren't able to really make a move. And, at the end of the day, I think for myself, I can't say that I wasn't a little disappointed, but at the same time, I do see the trajectory this team is on, and this management group has shown that even if they can't get something done at the deadline, they can get things done in the offseason. I think some of their best moves have been off-season moves, right? You think about Noah Dobson even last year. I think that they tried to make a move at last year's deadline for Noah Dobson. Maybe the price was too high. They waited the summer and they were able to get it done. So, I think coming into this offseason, if they make a move, maybe they do end up making a move for a top line forward they've been looking for. I don't know. But again, right, like maybe the price, I tend to think that the prices are probably better in the offseason.
Probably.
Where teams have, there's not a lot of, right, like you come to the deadline, there's pressure. Like you only have a certain amount of time to get a deal done.
I had a theory about with Robert Thomas and say Kyrou, right, where the prices were super high, right? I love that St. Louis just throwing that out there and seeing what the market value was for the summer. So when they know kind of what to look for or what
100%. I think you could absolutely be right.
See what the offers are. Like put out a price that's is insanely high, and then see what the offers are. Now you can sort of judge it for the summer, and is a strong possibility that Thomas, like that was never going to happen at this time, at the 100%. Deadline. So yeah, and I mean they were reported to be in on that. So, and a lot of the stuff that they did, we'll never find out. We'll never know because it didn't happen. Some of the stuff they can't talk about players that they were discussing. Sometimes, right? You can't. It's like tampering, no?
Right. Yeah. No, it would certainly be.
You can't talk. You can't mention names and stuff like that. So there's a lot of times we don't know. So did they stand pat? The results were that they stood pat. That's not the right way to say it. The results look like they decided to stand pat and do nothing. But it's because I think the targets that they had, like Matt had said, they're not veering from their vision. So it's not like, well, we want this guy, can't get him. We'll get the Temu version of that guy. They're not doing that. They're just not doing it.
No, not to go on a playoff run this year. I mean, look, and we'll get it again, right? This will be another question. Are they in danger of making the playoffs? We'll get into it. I don't think they are. And again, there's no reason to rush that right now with how young this team is.
There's no reason.
I do think, even though they stood pat, I do still think that they did a lot of work. Like you said, maybe if they, want to get something done in the summer, they kind of could gauge what prices might look like more towards summertime and have a better idea of that. Right.
Also, the work he did yesterday that didn't work out may be half the job of getting it done in the summer because they've already had a bunch of discussions. They know where they 100%. Stand. And then maybe in the summer, it's pretty easy to go back and revisit it and actually get something done. So, yeah, one thing I know for sure is that they worked and they didn't just decide that we're going to stand pat. We don't need anything. They did. They do. There's holes, but they don't all have to be filled now because the priority isn't, well, we got to win a cup this year because that's just not where they're at, right? Right? I do believe they want to make the playoffs and they would have made a deal that made sense to them, not just to make a deal to satisfy fans because they weren't going to do that. And you know what? It's just the prices were too high. The prices were too high, especially for the positions that they were looking for when you think about it, right? A right shot defenseman.
I mean, guys are getting even guys you are normally, right? Even like in the offseason, guys that's
in demand.
To get like a third in a B level prospect, we're going for a first, a third.
Yeah,
like
and there's not a lot.
Like it was crazy.
There's not a lot of RHDs out there to start with, and they were in demand. So the prices were high. So I have a feeling, a lot of the lack of deals because it was a quiet, goddamn boring trade deadline day, and we were on for 5 hours, and there was not much to talk about that was happening. Like but I think in the summer
trades were after 3 p.m. and then things started going through the queue.
A little bit, but even then, usually you get a bunch, and there was only a few. There wasn't a much. It was really quiet. But I think in the summer, once the free agency hits, I think you're going to see a lot more than usual, even for that time of year, because of the stuff that didn't happen at the trade deadline. Because, the movement is going to be there. It didn't happen here. I think there'll be a lot more exciting kind of things happening in the off season. So, Yeah. So did they decide to stand pat? I don't think they decided to stand
No.
pat. I think that's how it worked out. That's it.
Right. And again, right, like we just stated, it's not like they didn't get work done. I believe they did. I believe they did get a lot of really good
All worked done.
information to head
Yeah.
into the off season and
Yeah.
figure out a way to make again.
Yeah.
Kind of similar to like last deadline, right? Like I think they kind of gauged, what someone like Dobson could have went for, because I don't think Dobson's name was a little out there at the trade deadline, but I don't think he was expected to really move there. And then what they did, they went out and got him in the summer for probably less than what they would have had to pay at the deadline. So I do think they'll make a move over the summer. I just think at the deadline it wouldn't have made sense with what they maybe would have had.
Yeah, listen, some moves are trade deadline day kind of moves, and some moves just aren't, and they're off-season moves. And when you think about it, Robert Thomas, Jordan Kyrou, that's kind of more of an off-season thing than a trade deadline kind of move. So, and I guess proven out
drafting. I mean, I think that's something like that would be like a draft day or right after, like right around that period. Again,
yeah,
right,
just
like
not trade deadline. Trade deadline is more for like rentals, like moving bottom six kind of guys like that. Trade deadline day, I find, is more for that, and you don't see as many blockbusters. Not that there aren't any, but so I think that's how it worked out this year. So okay, so we answered that question. Did they stand pat? We both agree. We don't think they. We think that that's how it worked out because of their
100%.
vision and the fact that they stick to that. They're not like all over the place, because all over the place, you're not going to build what they're trying to build. So
100%.
If you're upset that they didn't do anything, I would say you should be happier and more, and love them more. The words like I would, because they didn't actually do anything, because the deals weren't there. Don't do it. Better off to be patient and wait till the off season.
100%. And you got to give yourself time again, right, to evaluate. Maybe there were certain prospects that were being asked about, and you want to be able to evaluate a little bit, right? And especially with guys that aren't with the team yet, but have also been kicking butt in their either in juniors, right? Think about like Bryce Pickford or obviously Michael Hayes, who I don't think is going anywhere, but you want to see what you evaluate what you have in the AHL. Hey, maybe we like right, instead of Michael Hayes, well, what if we evaluate the rest of the season? Oh, we can move whatever this guy or this guy from the AHL, and we're okay. We can move him because this guy's things like that.
Also, these guys are pretty much, they might be ready to come up. So if we're going, well, if we do something that we're not really happy with, and maybe we get a little term we don't necessarily want,
100%.
We delay these guys coming up, and that's not the best thing. So yeah, I'm happy that they ended up with what happened. I'm disappointed. I wanted to see some help. Now we're going to get into that, because that's the next question. Let's do this here. Did Kent Hughes and I guess Jeff Gordon, did they miss the boat on acquiring right-hand defenseman, right shot defenseman? And then goalie help too, because we know the situation with Monty. What do you think, Matt? Did they miss the boat on that at all?
So I want to address because I think it's a more straightforward answer for the defenseman. I think in a way, yes. I think they should have at least added at least for more depth, because I just don't think that what's kind of going on defensively, at least in certain situations, it's still a problem. Like we saw that in the Anaheim game, where they just don't have another body that can really get in there and clear the front of the net. And
they don't have a left shot guy that can play the right side adequately.
Right.
My opinion, yeah.
Right. No, right. But again, right, that goes to just clearing the, like, I think it's somewhat of a, not as much of a size thing as it is right. I think they need someone that can play the right side, and just at least somewhat effectively.
More effectively, yeah.
Should have. I think that was really what they should have addressed if they weren't going to get a forward. they probably should have addressed that. Again, I think with how high the prices are, my guess is that it wouldn't have made sense for certain players, especially if it's just gonna be not a rental per se, but someone like that where maybe you have them the rest of this season, maybe they stick around next season. Who knows? And I just don't think that would have made sense. But on the goaltending front, I just don't think there was. I don't think that there was a goalie that would have made sense to move Montembeault out for because, I know a lot of people are talking about Jordan Binnington. The issue with Jordan Binnington, and we talked about it with Ryan Sporzer when he was on, is yes, he was great at the Olympics. He was great in the Four Nations. But if you look at his NHL stats this year in the regular season, they're worse than Sam Montembeault's, right? And he makes $1 million more, which again, with the cap the way it is, not a huge deal. But it that would have been more of a lateral move, especially when you have Jacob Fowler, who's ready to come up, or who should be ready to come up at the end of this season if they don't call him back up during this, this last couple weeks of games, last month of games. Does it make sense to make a lateral move like that and potentially block Jacob Fowler, right? Like that doesn't make any sense. So I didn't like really Binnington in that aspect. Wallstedt didn't make any sense because Jacob Fowler, again, you'd be blocking him. And Bobrovsky, A, probably would have cost way too much. And B, sounds like he's not leaving Florida. They'll probably re-sign him in the offseason. So other than that, you're going to make a move for Stuart Skinner?
No.
I don't like that. Tristan Jarry, no. Those would have been more lateral moves for me. So I think from a goaltending standpoint, I'm not shocked at all they didn't go out and trade for one because it just wouldn't have made sense long term because you can't block Jacob Fowler. And I think Jacob Dobich is, for the most part, giving you adequate enough goaltending. It's just been issues, again, on the back end with not having another right-handed defenseman that can play the right side adequately. I think that's the bigger issue at play here, not so much the goaltending. Yes, Sam Montembeault hasn't been good, but I think Dobich has been giving you adequate enough goaltending. Some nights he's been spectacular, but overall it's been league average. I think, and Dobich is winning games, so I think it's more so they really, I guess, more so maybe missed the boat on a defenseman, not a goalie.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's just, goaltending might be what cost them. Although, listen, if you go into the playoffs, you're really you're using one goalie, unless
right. And right now, I mean, it's Dobich.
The problem is with Dobich is he does eventually have that bad game like he had the other day, right? It's going to happen, but I mean, you can live with that if the rest of even in the playoffs. So I think that was the issue. Bringing in somebody like Binnington, it does screw up your timeline for Fowler. So there's that, and you don't want to do that. So I guess the question was, do we bring in goaltending help and sort of hold Fowler back a little bit, or do we live with what we're going to get from Monty? He's working with the coach, and you never know. In one game, it can come back, and that's it. I liken it to, I don't know if you know this guy, Steve Sachs, LA Dodgers shortstop. Couldn't throw all of a sudden to second base. Imagine a shortstop who couldn't get the ball to second base. From one day to the next, he lost it for like a couple of years, and then he kind of got it back. Is that, maybe that's what happened here? I don't know. But it kind of feels like that. So when will he get it back? Who knows either, right? So it's a gamble. But if you got one guy that's going really well, which Dobich is, he's not a traditional style for a goalie. I keep reading that. But he wins. He wins.
No, he does. And for more often than not, he's giving them league average goaltending. Again, some days he's going to be above that. Some days, there's been games this year he's been spectacular. Yep. And they're a good enough team that's fine.
Yep.
Again, the issue is, for me, the bigger issue is they need another defenseman that can play the right side.
Yeah, I think that's the big issue here. So I think I'm going to totally agree with you. I think where they missed the boat is not shoring it up. They didn't have to go out and get a number one defenseman on the right side, but I think if they could have found a guy that could play the second pair on the right, shift Carrier down to the third. I think Carrier is probably better suited right now as a third pairing guy. So I think that's where they might have missed the boat. That's it. I don't think I don't think they could have done anything about goaltending without affecting Fowler, and that's just
Right.
you're just not
And
going to do
you
that.
think about it, right? You're not taking that chance because we know how good Fowler can be.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can't
Yep.
take a chance to block him. That's why I think Jesper Wallstedt was never, and I know a lot of people didn't really talk about him much, but that was just never ever going to happen. Because
No,
then at that point, why even have Jacob Fowler? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
no, that probably
you're not
wasn't
going
going to happen.
to pay up the ass to get Bob as a rental.
And you're not doing that either. And with
Wallstedt,
with Wallstedt, I mean, it's probably like if you wowed them with a crazy offer,
100%.
that's the only way you're probably going to get Wallstedt.
No, and Binnington's just too much of a lateral move. It just
it's a lateral move. But
sense.
He wins in the playoffs, so you can say, well, he's a big game kind of guy, but is that worth holding?
But like, why are you gonna give up? Because I'm sure St. Louis probably would have wanted a bit of a premium for him.
Yeah, no,
and
you're going to pay a price.
To go the other way because I don't think you're moving Dobesh.
You're going to pay a nice price to get him, and then you got to hold Fowler back. It's not worth it.
But not only that, like, just from like a morale standpoint, like, say you bring in a Binnington, right, and he has some issues, but then you get Dobesh, who maybe he still ends up getting a lion's share of the starts. He gets you to the playoffs, and all of a sudden you're going to switch him, and Binnington's going to start. Like, think about what's that going to do to Dobish, that morale. Like, oh, I got, we're in the playoffs.
That's true.
Of that, and now I can't play. Like,
you know what? Like, think about
that.
Yeah, then you screw him up with his whatever, and then when he does play, he's not good. And then you got Binnington. Maybe he's going to be good. Maybe he's not. No, I don't think I had read somewhere that I think Hughes had said two things. In two different places. That Binnington kind of made sense and blah, 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 and they're going to look into whatever like that, and that it wouldn't make sense for the point that you just made. So I don't know if they were looking at goalie help at all. I tend to think that they weren't.
I don't think they were either.
Yeah, so
I would have had a hard time believing unless there was someone they were looking at that we didn't know about.
Right.
I just have a hard time believing any of the goalies that we knew about would have been anything more than just a lateral move from Sam Montembeault.
If Dobish was
how you could bring someone in and just have them be the starter over Dobish, unless you
if Dobish was playing like Monty is right now, like if that was going on with both of them,
then you go out and get a goalie. But Dobish, like I said, the majority of this season, and like any goalie, he's going to have a stinker every now and then. But he's been giving them league average to a little bit above league average goaltending, which is sufficient for how good the offense is. That's sufficient.
It is, and listen, if he's hot in the playoffs, that's all you can ask. All you need is a hot goalie in the playoffs. You don't need the best goalie in the league. You need a hot goalie in the playoffs. So, he seems to he'll have a bad game, sometimes two, but he bounces back. You look at his record.
His record's really good.
Yeah, his record
19. 8 and something now, or 9. Like, his record is really, really good.
It's 26-5, something like that. 28-5, something
really
like that.
Good.
He's got a good record, and that's what proves that he bounces back. Because if he didn't, he wouldn't have such a he's well above 500, well above 500. And if he didn't bounce back, like I'm talking about, that would show right there. So, I think they're confident in that. And they're willing to.
It kind of proves too the point about they really only need league average goaltending right now with the amount of goals that we score.
Yeah, that's another good point, right? The offense is there.
Yeah, maybe he lets in 2 goals in a game, but we know the Habs are going to put up 4. That's all you need. You know what I mean? Or, whatever the case may be. But
so I don't think they missed the boat overall. But I really would have liked to see them get a little bit of right shot.
Yeah, a right hand defense, or just some size, maybe some grit. Like that's why I when I heard
good size.
They were looking at AJ Greer. That would have been a nice addition of the bottom 6.
A little more grit up front would be nice. It would have been. But listen, it didn't happen. They've gotten to where they are this year so far with these guys. And last season, when they decided to listen to Nick Suzuki's request of not trading anybody and we'll get it done, and they did, I guess they figured, we're going to go with that again. And if you look at Nick Suzuki's play last night, and like he's been good. He had 3 points last night. Like he maybe 2, but he's been
Yeah,
really
I saw
good. He had
Bluesky
3 points
last night.
last night. But he's been really good. If Nick Suzuki's the kind of guy, he steps up at the end of the season when it's crunch time, and there's still some more potential out of this team. And let's hope they can hit all that. We make the playoffs and do a little bit of damage in the playoffs. That's what I'd like to see.
100%.
Okay. Excuse me. I got a frog in my throat, as they say. And it's going. I'm not going to do the joke. Could get in trouble with that one. All right. Let's get on to the next question. What's that one? Yeah. Okay. So goaltending dilemma bit. What do they do about Monty and the goaltending in general for the rest of the season without having made a move, right? So call up Fowler, call up Kakinen, don't call up anybody. What? Because they have, I mean, those are the options they have. And I've seen a couple of people now, writers, talking about the potential of maybe Fowler coming up. So what do you think about that? What do you think they do? Just leave it as is, or are we going to see Fowler? Because I don't think we're going to see Kakinen. I really don't.
No, Kakinen, I think, because you want a vet down there.
Yeah, you want to, and
only
I don't.
thing I'm going to say
It's
is
lateral too, right? For me, Kakinen, you bring him up, it's kind of a lateral move. It's
Right.
not like he's been the greatest goaltender his whole career or anything. So I don't see that as being where Fowler has potential to really do something.
Yeah. I think, the next, Montembeau's next, I want to say, I mean, could just be his next start, but definitely like his next 2. I think you really want to watch closely just because with how close things are, with really a month or so left in the season, right? You think about it.
Yeah.
If he's shaky again out of the gate, I mean, you really got to think about, where you are in the standings, what the point cushion might look like. Because obviously you don't want to overplay Jacob Dobish with how young he is. I think he's still going to get the lion's share of the starts, but you got to think about, you making this playoff push. Do you trust, Montembeau enough as a backup if something happens to Dobish that you can still get there? Or do you maybe say, we really want to have at least, sort of a safety net back there in case something happens. Maybe you call Fowler up. I think Monty's next couple of games are really going to show us, I think, or not show us, but they'll tell us kind of maybe what that mindset is, because
we're gonna find out soon because we got 2 sets of back-to-back games in our next 4 games. So
right,
he's gonna play 2 games.
If he comes out, if he's real shaky, you got to think they got to at least really be thinking about bringing up Fowler to back Dobish up, because you can't really afford to drop a lot of points down the stretch here with how tight things are. And just
unless you're okay,
Montembeau, it's a game of just scoring your way out of that problem.
Yeah,
right? A lot of his games have been a 5-4, 6-5,
yeah. But unless the team is okay with not making the playoffs potentially, which kind of I don't think that.
No, I doubt that. They want to make the playoffs.
They want to make the playoffs, right? So, yeah, they got to be monitoring this really closely, and since they didn't make a move, the only option in my mind is they decide to call up Fowler or ride Dobish too much, and I kind of don't think they're going to do that either.
No, you can't. No, with how young Dobish is, you can't ride him too much. And yeah, it comes down to, how tight points are. Like, you can't. Yeah. Granted, we'll talk about the Anaheim game, but it sucks they lost, but at least they got to overtime to get the point. It's like I mean, that's just how tight things are. Like, if you're gonna lose, go to overtime. They can't afford a lot of.
Yeah.
Granted, they haven't lost much in regulation this season. I mean, I think that game against San Jose was their first regulation loss since like January. So or the
And,
beginning of February, something like that. But
and speaking of the Anaheim game, just for a sidetrack for a sec, not Monty's fault. The tying goal or the shootout goal that won. It's not Monty's fault, in my opinion. He got beat, but not like because of his fault. Where we lost the game, though, the 3 goals before that, there were 3 goals that he should have saved one of those, and he does that in games different, and that's I don't even know
100%.
why I'm making the point, but I wanted to make that point. Yeah, he
No,
didn't
you're
lose it.
absolutely right. I think there absolutely are goals that go in that just aren't his fault. It's a defensive, but there's also a majority of goals that go in where it's like you can't let that in as a professional goalie. Like, no, you can't. You just can't. You have to have a save there, right? And I
Yeah,
just feel like it happens so much now with Montembeault, where it's like, again, right?
yeah,
You have to think about, can you trust him to pick you up a couple of points in however many starts he's going to have
yeah.
left.
The thing with Monty is like he can be spectacular saves, and then there's that where it's just horrible. He totally shits the bed and lets in a goal. And he's so up and down this season that way. He kind of has been a little bit like that since he's been here. But I mean, last season he was really good. I mean, I don't know what's up this year, but the problem is that he can give you that spectacular save, give up a rebound on it, even though it's spectacular save, and then that's gone. It's in the net, even though you look at it and say he should have had that. So it's kind of yin and yang with Monty is the problem this year. So, I mean,
100%.
there's 20 games left. They got whatever time to get him going still with the new coach, the new goalie coach. So far, it doesn't seem like it's working. Yeah, I don't know. But I got to think that once we get to playoff time, unless Monty is like, wow, he's back. It's like 7 games he's played, and it's the old Monty. Dobish is starting in the playoffs. All right. And you got lost Matt.
No, I'm
So,
here.
would you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, Dobish. So unless, of course, Fowler's been called up and he's lights out, then I don't know, but I would still think they're going to start with Dobish because he's a little more experienced, obviously. All right. I guess that leads us to the next question. Did we already answer that? No, that was that part. So we'll try. I mean, we kind of did sort of talk about it here now. Here, are they in danger of missing the playoffs? You started every other one. I'm going to start.
Okay.
So after the Anaheim game, yeah, I tell you, I'm really worried about it.
Yeah, a little too close.
People are talking now about it, and it's kind of hard to imagine because, like, we've been sure they're going to make the playoffs, right? But with how tight this division is, and everybody's kind of pushing and everybody's kind of winning, if you don't keep up with everybody else, you're going to fall out. So they've fallen down to the wild card spot. And then Boston right up their ass yesterday, 1 point behind. And yeah, going into last night's game, I'm worried that they could fall out. I said it during the game. But then the way they won, because the Anaheim game, they should have won that game. Like, they should have won that game. Matt and I were
100%.
talking about this before we started recording. They were the better team. There's no doubt. Montreal was the better team against Anaheim. Anaheim found a way to pull it out. Partially, you might say it's Monty's fault. I think, yeah, if he had stopped one of those goals I was talking about, we'd have won the game in regulation, potentially, because you never know. But they won a game that they shouldn't have last night. And so it kind of gave me the feeling that, yeah, they're able, if they can do that, if this young team can start to figure out how to actually win games when they're not, it's not their best night, something's off, but they can still pull it out. That's a sign of a winner. I think they will make the playoffs.
I
That
agree.
was a sign for me because I was worried. I was really starting to get worried that are we going to get all this way and then blow it right at the end? I hope not, but I'm kind of confident now that we'll make the playoffs, even if it has to be a wild card spot.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, like, first of all, their points percentage is really good. Like, I have to hand it to them. They have done a really good job of just getting points and just like,
Yeah,
they do go to overtime a lot. And that is kind of a saving grace too, especially if there's tiebreakers. I know row number is a big one, but regulation wins points percentage comes up a lot too, and the points percentage is actually really really good. Um, but I think it's I mean, obviously they're point up on Detroit right now, 3 on Boston, and then 5 up on Columbus. So I mean, it's really just you're just gonna maximize the points you get. But as long if they keep playing the way they've played all season, where yeah, maybe they'll lose a game, but they'll rattle off 2 or 3 wins, in between losses, right? So if they can just keep that up, they'll be fine. And obviously they have a big game in a couple of weeks against Boston at home that I'll be at. I'll be at the Bell Center. They can get a win there. That's huge, right? A game like that. Because I think looking at the standings, other than really Columbus as a team that's on the outside looking in, from Ottawa down, I just think the cushion there is just too insurmountable for those teams because those teams haven't really shown that they can consistently win 2, 3, 4 in a row, and then only lose one. Like those teams, have typically have lost a bunch of games, won a few. Like you have to get out of a rut like that to really surmount, that type of point cushion. I think it's really, really Boston, Detroit, Montreal, and Columbus. If they keep winning, would be kind of the 4 teams for those last 3 spots. And I think, again with the Habs point percentage, with how well they have been able, even in the overtimes, right? They lost. I think they have 10 overtime losses.
yeah,
But again, those are 10 points. So the fact, even if they're gonna lose a game, they do find a way to get to overtime quite a bit. Obviously, we don't like that. We want regulation wins, but those add up. And I think down the stretch, I think they're good enough to get in. But again, they just need to keep pace. But they've been able to do that for the most part this season. I think they still can. I don't think there's really any real danger that jumps out to me. But again, there are some. It's a tight race, so you never know.
yeah. But also, we might have both wild cards might come out of the Atlantic.
Of the
So,
Atlanta, right? Yeah,
yeah,
like I said,
with that,
Columbus is in the Metro, but other than that, like none of the other Metro teams are going to make the playoffs that aren't in it already,
yeah.
right? Other than
So
the top 3 there. So
yeah, so it looks like I think with that, it also gives me more. I think they're definitely going to get in because yeah, they'll have that cushion of the extra wild card probably. So yeah, and listen, if that's how they have to get in, so be it. I'd rather they are one of the top 3 in the division where they sit right now. But
I
we'll
mean,
see.
they'd
It's
have to play
really
Buffalo in the
difficult.
first round right now, and I don't want to play Buffalo.
True. This is true. This might be, but then if we're in a wild card,
It's
it's
Carolina or
the first
Tampa.
one.
Yeah,
It's Tampa or Carolina, right? So it's like
yeah.
I
I mean,
guess
if
I'd
they can
rather
find a way
Carolina.
to jump Buffalo at the end there and at least get home ice, I'd feel a little bit more more
Anyways,
happy
you know
about it.
what? It doesn't matter who you face in the playoffs. You got to win. So it doesn't really matter.
100%.
You got to win, and that's all that matters.
And as
And
good
you know
as
what?
as
They
good as
can.
Buffalo's been this season, they haven't played playoff hockey ever. Like
True.
literally,
Not
and
that
it looks
this
like they're
team.
gonna make it. It'll be the first time since I was in middle school that team's played playoff hockey. So
Okay,
again, you never know
this group of ours is basically second time only, so it's not like they got a ton more experience.
Right, but I mean, at
It
least
is more.
our group has a bit of a taste.
Yeah, it is more, and that is a good point. I have to admit, it is a good point. All right, I'm going to remind everybody. Let us know in the comment section what you think of all this. We're going to take a quick pause. You won't see it, but we're just going to take a quick pause. Okay, be right back. All righty, we're back. You didn't notice it; it just sort of looked like a blip. Except now there's a different screen. So we're going to talk about the 3 stars of the week last week. We'll go over this quick. These are mine. So I had it as you see there, 3-2-1. Caulfield, who had 2 goals, 2 assists, and 4 points. Suzuki, 2 goals, 4 assists, 6 points, and Slav, 2 goals, 4 assists, 6 points. Now, except for one of the games, which was the San Jose game, that was line 1 for Anaheim and for last night against LA. So basically, line 1 were the stars last week.
100%.
Putting Slav back there was great. I was kind of trepidatious about that decision, to be honest.
But I think at the same time, that would help to reel him in, because I think he was still just, again, coming off the hype from the Olympics, like trying to do too much. And I think putting him on that line with those 2 guys where he could be like, no, you're right. I don't really have to do too much.
I'm back home.
Kind of back into that mindset. And I think it worked.
Back home again. That's kind of what it was. Back where he belongs. I don't 100%. Think they're going to switch back at all. I think they discovered that that's the right place now for Slav again. That line is a top line when they're together. That's a top line in the league, like a top 5 even, but top 10 for sure. I don't think they change, and I think we'll have many other games where that line 1 just clicked all night. Like that happens, right? In this case, it was all week. These players clicked. Slav has been, since he got back on that line, looking like, I guess, the guy at the Olympics, which I didn't see any of his games there. I saw some highlights last night. And that's the guy that is back when he's on line 1. Like, he was great in the Olympics.
Look, I think when Slav's playing like that, like we saw last night, I mean, he's borderline unstoppable when he puts all, and he's still only 20, so he's still learning to get that more consistent. But
he's 21.
I mean, it shows you, like, that's the type of player that he's going to be.
He's 21. He's going to be 22 actually
21.
Soon. Here's an
a year off.
Here's an interesting stat though about that. Slav is the first player in Habs history to have 3 50-point seasons before 22 years old. It's the only one. That's pretty fantastic. So,
did I see something else where was it his goals? I want to say he passed, like, I think Henri Richard for, like, most goals or something before 20. It's not.
That could
stat. I forget the stat, but.
Well, that could be. He got 20.
Maybe
he's got 24 goals now this season so far. So he's putting up.
I forget what it was, but
it could be something like that, or maybe it was what I just read to you. But if Henri Richard wasn't mentioned, because he's the first, he's the only one to do it.
I think it might have been total goals before 20,
that
21, something like that, or before 22.
I think
a
it's
stat
22.
like that where he passed on, and I went, whoa.
Okay. Yeah, it shows you whatever struggle he had to get here, he's still been pretty effective, because he wouldn't hit those kind of, like, records, if he wasn't doing the job right. This season though, he's clearly on a not on a different level, I guess, maybe, but he's starting to hit his potential, right? He's on pace. He's got 52 points now, 62 games. He's on pace for, I think, 63 to 67. I'm not sure exactly, but he's on pace for that now. Finally, like, at least this year, challenging for that 70-point number, which everyone seems to think that he has to hit, or he's a fraud. Well, I think he's proving that he's not a fraud.
Well, I think it was 60, which is what people wanted him to hit.
And then it got adjusted to 70, I saw in some places this year. But he's definitely hitting that, in my opinion. 52 points, 20 games left. He needs 8 to hit 60. He's hitting 60 with these guys, right? He's hitting, when he's playing on line one, he's hitting 60 points. Yeah, anyway, so Slav, we could talk about him forever. He's been fantastic, power forward, everything that they drafted him for, and like 2 or 3, I'd say 2 years earlier than they thought. Because when they drafted him, I remember them saying, by the time he's 24, 25, this is the player they thought they were going to have at that point. He's 22, and he hit it. So, in my opinion, he's reached that. So, Slav, fantastic. Nick, steady.
Yeah, he's only going to get better too. That's the scary thing.
He hasn't hit his ceiling. He's reaching his potential, but hasn't hit his ceiling yet, I don't think.
Right.
Suzuki, steady Eddie, points, stepping up at the right time of the year, like he always seems to do. So I have him at number 2. Cole, scoring goals. He's going to hit.
It could be, I think, the first time in my lifetime that a Habs player is going to score 40 goals.
In your lifetime, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because I think it was the 4 was the last?
3.
93, yeah. So pretty insane. And again, right, like he's 24, so I think that's kind of sort of not baseline, but he's gonna, going forward, he's 35 to 50 goals, and somewhere in that range every year, I think is what.
And upwards of 60. He'll challenge for 60 one year, in my opinion.
Maybe, yeah.
I think. And I think, honestly, I'm not going to say he's going to get 50 this year, but I think he's got a good chance. He needs, he's sitting at 37. He needs, which, by the way, that was his career high, which he hit last year. He's got 20 games more to do that, to pass that. So,
but the way he's scoring since the break, I think he might only be a couple more games before he hits that 40 mark.
He's on pace right now, I believe, for 51. With the last game he got 2, that put him on pace for 51. So he's going to challenge for the 50, in my opinion. Anyway, I hope he gets it, but he's definitely a star. My honorable mentions, Lane Hudson, because always Lane Hudson. He just steady also. Steady Eddie 2. Steady Eddie 2.
The point production is ridiculous now, too. It's crazy. It's just absolutely insane what he can do.
It's going to be over a point a game.
No, but I'm just saying career-wise, I think he's got like 130 points and like 180. Like it's something crazy. Like
he is now tied for number 1, I believe, for defensemen in their first 150 games for assists, and he hit 115 last night. And that I don't know who's tied with him. I should have copied it. I didn't copy what I saw, but yeah, he's at the top of that list, ahead of Makar, ahead of Hughes, ahead of any name you want to mention. He's at the top of that list, and he I don't know if he's had 150 games, and that's why it's up there. But I mean, anyways, he's at the top of the list.
Go to the old Google machine. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, no worries. But I mean, he's got 115 assists in 150 games. So pretty awesome. So Hudson, I think, is going to be like in these 3 stars things for a long time. My other one is Noah Dobson. Noah Dobson has been quite good as of late and all season. But
I mean, I think in general too, he's just been everything that we knew he was going to be when we traded for him. Yeah, I think he's been fantastic.
Yeah, he hit.
But back to Lane Hudson for a second. Now. This is crazy. 115 assists, but 132 points in 146 career games. For a defenseman, by the way, he plays defense.
Yeah.
Just so you're aware of that. And he's a plus 22 for his career, plus 26. So I think he also played like defense. I think he does. I know people said he couldn't, but I don't think you hit a plus 22 if you can't play defense.
If you can't play defense, you're not a plus 22. Nope. Especially on a team that's right now having trouble.
Yeah, it's a little shaky near the back of the.
He's not. It's clear that he's not.
No, that pairing there, right? Hudson Dobson's been really good.
Has been really good. Yeah, 100%. That's right. That's the pairing, and they're right there. Yeah, I mean, imagine that. What's his like? I don't know how many games he's going to play in his career, but say he gets to 1,000 games. What's his numbers going to be?
right? Like it's crazy.
For
His
defenseman. I mean,
production is
so
awesome.
also anybody who laughed at me when I said he is right up there with Cale Makar and Quinn Hughes, and they're well, not yet. Blah, 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 blah. Numbers don't lie.
No,
Numbers don't lie.
no, they don't. They do not.
So yeah, so there you go. You have a difference. I don't. Do you have anybody in different? And then you wanted to
The
add
only other
somebody.
name that I'd kind of mention up there with the honorable mentions, I think Alex Newhook. And I know, the week before, were his first two games back, but for me, the fact that the injury came back from, and he hasn't skipped a beat at all, and he's been very good. Aside from last night, that line
Yes.
just wasn't very good at all. But no one really was that good last night, except for the big guys. But in general, I mean, he's producing. He's got, I think, 2 goals, 3 assists, or 2 goals, 2 assists in like his 3 or 4 games
It is.
back.
Yeah. Well,
His
5
speed's
now.
there.
Now it's 5 because
So,
he didn't get anything last night. I don't think.
yeah. But even
So
still,
yeah,
coming back
but
from an
still,
injury like that, I mean, he hasn't skipped a beat at all, and
yeah,
he's an important part of this lineup.
yeah.
I really think that. And he's someone I think that management does want to keep here for the long haul. I think he's a tremendous player. He's still so young. He's only 23, 24.
Yeah.
So I think he's only going to continue to get better, and you can't replace speed like that. Like he's got burners.
You can't teach speed.
No.
You just can't teach that. So, and you know what? That kind of blazing speed's always good to have in the top 6 if you can put it there. All right,
100%.
let's take a look at last week's games. Last week, Tuesday, in San Jose, they lost 7-5 in what was I was surprised. I thought they'd go in there and do well.
I didn't think it'd be like, I didn't think we'd smoke them, because I think the Sharks are actually a sneaky, underrated team. But yeah, that shocked me when I woke up the next morning, because it was a late game, so I didn't watch it. And I was like, oh, well, that's a lot of goals being scored. I knew Monty had started that game, so I was also like, this might be like a 5-4 or 4-3 type of game. So that I was like, oh, okay. But I will say they showed great fight tying that game, being down 5-2 going into the third.
Oh, 100%.
I do think that's a really good positive to take from this game. Other than that,
they almost came all the way back, but they were
other than that,
a hole.
Kind of
They were in such a hole. There was no way. Like, they almost came back, and I'll give you the 3 reasons why San Jose beat us. First one, Celebrini. Second one, Celebrini. And the third one, fucking Celebrini.
I mean, he's phenomenal to watch. I love watching that player play the game. Got to watch him in person at BU here. He's phenomenal. I mean, he's one of my favorite players to watch in the league.
Yeah, I hate him, but he's fantastic. I mean, yeah, but seriously, he was the reason they were that. Like, he was the driving force. There's no doubt.
I've said it for a few weeks now, and I know Connor Bedard's dealt with injuries, but I think Macklin Celebrini is better. I do. Like, I think you could think about maybe putting the generational tag on Macklin Celebrini for what he's doing at his age. Like,
yeah, no,
you know what I mean? We can have that conversation.
I think you can have the conversation now, and if he keeps doing this in the next year, 2 years, I think you can say it at that point, because he looks like he may be that. So yeah, unfortunate that we had to come across him in that game. Friday they played the Ducks, lost 6-5 in shootout. They were the better team. They were just
that's a game that they should have won. Defensive breakdown kind of near the end. They just weren't clearing the front of the net. That's why the game got tied. And they just don't. It boggles my mind why they can't win in a shootout when you look at the guys that they have that shoot in the shootout, but they just don't seem to be able to win. It's great, right? Because it's always going to be a combination of Caulfield, Suzuki, and Demidov in some way, shape, or form. Maybe even Newhook or Doc. Like, you'd think they maybe win more when you have those guys shooting, but
yeah. But by the way, you got one thing wrong. Tuesday was Dobish. That was a bad game. Dobish had a bad game. I mean, that's one of the things that happened.
I couldn't remember.
His numbers were atrocious. Friday was Monty, and Monty was was good. I mean, it wasn't his fault at the end. Once it was a shootout, or even the tying goal. I wanted in my review for the members, I wanted it to be like I had written it was Monty's fault. I said I better go look to make sure, and it wasn't. Where it was Monty's fault, as I said earlier, was he should have stopped one of the earlier goals. He should have. There were 3 goals that were questionable, and 2 of them might have ticked off this shaft of a stick. But even in that, it didn't move enough. In my opinion, it didn't change enough direction that he shouldn't have that he should have stopped it. So I think if he would have stopped one of those 3 goals, just one extra save, and that game would have been different. But so yeah, but it was a game they should have won because they were the better team.
Yeah,
They were clearly
100%.
the better team. There's no doubt. Montreal was the better team. And yeah, anyways, Saturday was the opposite, which was last night. Last night, LA, they were the better team. And typical because Montreal has lost 9 in a row to LA. Not
I was
just
gonna
there.
say LA's one of those weird teams that just has our number. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I don't know how they won. I'll tell you, I wrote this for the review. How I'm going to just swear. How the fuck do you win after only 1 shot in the first? 1 shot in the first period. Crazy. At one point, they were down 16-1 in shots. And they came back to win that game? Crazy. Dobish was good. No doubt. Dobish was good and solid and had a lot to do with it.
Let in one's kind of stinker, but other than that, he was
then
solid.
line one kind of took that over.
100%.
It was they were down 3-2, I want to say, right? We were down 3-2. And I thought there's no way they come back. It didn't look like it. It didn't look like anyway, they did. They came back. Slav led that. It was just a great comeback in a game they had no reason. No, they had no right to win. You look at it like that. But since that happened to them the night before, they just got kind of revenge. They got it back. So, anyways, that's what I thought of those games.
Yeah,
they got 3 points out of 6 at a time when you need every single point you can get. So Saturday was a must win. Good on them to be able to come back when you just don't have it that night, and you're able to come back and win the game. So it's a good sign for the future, and one of those good things you want to see them build on, because that's something that good teams do. They can come out flat some nights, just off, and they still are able to win. They're able to pull it out. So hopefully they can. That's a sign that they'll be able to do that as well. You want to add anything to those games before we predict for next week?
No, I mean, I think we went over them pretty well. I will say, like, to your point, like last night, when I saw that LA had taken the lead 3-2, I, get the phone notification. I was like, there's only like 8 minutes left or something. I was like, oh, crap. Like, I don't like, and I thought to myself, like, they really can't afford to drop any points here. Like, not with, obviously early in the day with the Bruins winning in the Blue Jackets winning, I go, they can't afford to drop points here. They got to figure out a way to at least go to overtime, and they ended up winning a regulation.
Yeah, they got.
I'm not fucking around anymore. Give me the puck.
It's that power play. They got luck. I don't know. I don't remember the penalty, but they got the power play late in the third, and they scored. And then 49 seconds later, they were able to go ahead. So, yeah, like in a really short period of time. But this is something that Montreal is good at this year, right? Is even if they're down, whatever, they can put some offense together, and put a few goals together when they need it. And they've done it many times already this season. So they did it. They managed to in a very 49 seconds, and that was it. And then they held on. I think it was 4.5 minutes roughly, and they held on. So nerve wracking. I was like literally almost biting my nails. That's at the end there, because they needed to win. They absolutely needed to hang on. And I can see again, last 30-second, give up the goal, go to overtime, and blow it there. And I thought that's what was going to happen, but didn't happen. So I'm very happy for that. All right, let's take a look at next week's games. I got my predictions up there already. And we got Tuesday, we got Toronto. Wednesday, we got Ottawa. Toronto's here in Montreal, Ottawa in Ottawa. And then Saturday, it's the first of 2 games, but we'll probably record before the Sunday night one. So Saturday, we get revenge, hopefully, on the Sharks because they're in town. And then, so I got it all 3 wins. They're going to beat Toronto. They're going to beat Ottawa. They're going to pound them into the ground. They got no goaltending there, and Toronto just sucks. And we're going to get revenge on Saturday with the Sharks. So that's the motivation there. And I say they win all 3.
Yeah, I'm right with you there. I'm in agreement. I think especially Toronto's obviously they were in fire sale mode. Yes, Friday at the deadline. They're just a team that's just trying to get to the end of the season and kind of regroup. So Toronto should be a win. Ottawa, those games they ended up just being close games for whatever reason. They always play us tough, but I think just offensively we should be able to win that game. Yeah, I just think we'll be able to just score more goals than they can. Saturday will be fun. Obviously, always fun watching Celebrini. But hopefully they kind of learn from the last game and kind of take a little bit of revenge on them. But again, should be 3 fun games to watch regardless. But I do agree. I think they should win all 3 of these games. They need to take points out of all 3.
They need to take points, yeah.
A win against Ottawa, a win against Toronto. Maybe they go to overtime and lose against San Jose. But they need to take points.
Yeah, I can see that happening with the Sharks. But again, you're right. They got to get points out of all the games. So I think they'll win them. But I definitely think you're right about the Sharks with Celebrini. That could be what happens. 100%. And that'll be fine. If they can take 5 out of
you go 5 out of 6, 4 out of 6, I think minimum. Right. Yeah. I think 4 out of 6, 5 out of 6, or 6 out of 6. Happy with that. Anything
less, do that the rest of the way every 3 games and take 4 or 5 out of 6 points. They're making the playoffs. There's no doubt there.
I mean, you're in a pretty comfortable spot if you can do that. For sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're at that point. You're in a pretty comfortable spot. Let's just get us back to where we were. And that there. All right, so we're gonna take off now. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed that. We should be back next week to talk about whatever goes on this week. Don't forget to leave comments on anything we said here. Comments, give a thumbs up if you enjoyed the show, and if you are new and you just happen to find us, hit that subscribe button, and then you'll be notified when there are new videos and new podcasts and stuff out. That's it. And you got anything to add, Matt, before we take off?
No, we're good. Appreciate everyone for tuning in, watching, listening. Wherever you get podcasts, and go Habs, go, man. Final stretch of the season here. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Hope you join us.
Yeah. Go Habs, go. Have a great week. Until next time, stay safe out there. Peace out. And I'm going to repeat myself. Go Habs, go. Ciao, everybody.
See you, peeps.
Thanks for watching.